Plain Water Cafe. Today in the cafe we're going to be talking about reverse osmosis equipment for the food and beverage industry. Specifically looking at some design parameters, some things you're going to want to consider before you design and purchase your next RO system. The first thing I'd like you to consider is point number one, which is in a food and beverage application, unlike some other industries, you might be using reverse osmosis in ways that are somewhat non-traditional. For example, are you going to be using this RO system, installing and using it to purify water, perhaps for a process input feed, boiler water pre-treatment feed? If that's the case, then you're really going to be focusing your attention on using the permeate from that system. And that will really drive how you design your overall reverse osmosis system. However, again, being the food market and being a little different than most, there are some really good process applications for reverse osmosis. One that comes to mind is the concentration of fruit juice. Taking that orange juice as an example and turning it into a concentrate. Well, that can be done with reverse osmosis. And that type of design, making equipment for that type of application, is going to be substantially different than your more traditional reverse osmosis system where you're simply purifying water for a process stream. So you'll really need to step back and say, what am I trying to accomplish with this reverse osmosis system, is your very first design consideration. Along with that, no matter what the design is going to be used for, you really need to look at how much redundancy you need to have built into the system. Can you take some of the passes out? Can you take some of the elements out of service for cleaning or maintenance or repair without impacting the overall process? So those are some things you'll want to consider right off the bat. In the next slide, you're looking at a two-pass, two-stage reverse osmosis system. And really the takeaway here is to understand the difference between a pass and a stage. And here's the real quick difference. You will add additional passes if you are trying to make a more pure permeate. You will add additional stages if you are trying to maximize the amount of processed liquid, could be water, could be whatever your process is treating. You're trying to maximize the overall recovery of that fluid. Or another way to look at it is you add stages to minimize the amount of water flowing to the waste treatment stream. So passes for purity, stages to minimize waste product production. So design consideration number two, really need to look at how seasonally variable your water quality is, or again your RO inlet quality is. It could be that you're using a surface water, it could be you're using well water, again you might be using some sort of process, but really taking the time to run some process charts and really make sure you understand what the kind of the mean is, as well as the high and lows, will save you potentially a lot of headaches down the road. I mean, one thing you want to ask yourself is, if there are seasonal variations, will your system be able to handle that? Have you accounted for all the possibilities? And on the discharge end of the world, will you be able to meet your discharge criteria? A quick example might be that you are using your reverse osmosis system to create processed water, or maybe even boiler feed water, from some sort of lake or river stream. We have seen situations where, because of drought conditions, say in the summertime, you are discharging an extremely high amount of extremely high conductivity water at the end of your reverse osmosis stream in your reject water. And in fact, we've had situations where clients have come to us and with their current designs have not been able to discharge that water because they would be violating their NPDES permit. So I want to look at the inputs, make sure that your reverse osmosis system can handle it. You want to look at where is that reject or waste stream going, and will you, under all conditions, be able to use that equipment. Design consideration number 3 is looking at, are you using a surface water? And if you are, have you taken into account the fact that that surface water will likely turn over? That is, you will have an upset condition because of water passing through its most dense temperature, which is right around 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And it usually happens about twice a year. When that happens, you get an extremely turbid situation. And if you haven't accounted for some pre-treatment ahead of your reverse osmosis system, you might get into some serious trouble. Now, consideration number 4 would be, are you using a well? And if you're using a well, certainly one thing that's not going to be a factor is total suspended solids is probably not going to be a factor for you. However, wells do not maintain necessarily a constant level of total dissolved solids. And as those fluctuate, and they can, under extreme conditions, fluctuate wildly, you can really impact the effectiveness of your reverse osmosis system. So consider your inputs to your system, both surface water and well water, and make sure again that you have mapped out in a process fashion what the highs, lows, and means are over an extended period of time, preferably through all of the seasons of the year, so you know what you're up against. Last consideration I want to leave you with today is, have you performed a silt density test? The initials SDI stand for Silt Density Index. And if you haven't done that, I would encourage you to make sure that you do that prior to heading down the path of designing or purchasing a reverse osmosis system. The SDI is a very good proxy for what types of fouling, what level of fouling you're going to have in your reverse osmosis system. It might dictate some further pretreatment ahead of your reverse osmosis system, or dictate at the very least what type of cleaning regimen is going to need to be in place. So there's 5 quick considerations for you. In our white paper, we actually have 11 total design considerations and a lot more detail than what we can deliver here in this slidecast or podcast if you happen to just be listening to us. So what I would like to encourage you to do is go ahead, download the white paper. It's free for you. Simply give us your name and email. We'll shoot that white paper along to you and answer all of your questions and really give you some good detail, lots of drawings in there, and some good detail on design considerations. Final things, if you're thinking about bringing on a design build firm to install your reverse osmosis system, you really should consider Lane. Why is that? 4 big reasons. One would be the fact that we are one of the few complete from well to delivering clean water out the other end of a reverse osmosis system, or for that matter, any type of water clarification equipment. One of the few in the world that can actually do that. Second point would be the fact that we have experts on staff and an entire hydrology department that can go out and identify, and then through our well drilling and pipeline divisions actually tap into new aquifers for you, new water sources, and then deliver that water to your plant. So really, no matter how challenging your particular situation is, Lane has the capabilities on staff to deliver the results you need. I appreciate you taking the time joining us here at the Water Cafe today, and hope to be back with you again soon. Bye now.